that deadline approaches where they really need to get this home sold, when they haven't made the sale, when they haven't sold it on their own, they're going to be more open to talking to you guys and hearing from you. However, they're not going to call you. You got to be the one making the call, and you got to stay on top of it and be very consistent. So I'm happy to have you guys here this morning. Good morning to everybody. Thank you for telling me you can't see my camera. My camera's been bugging out. There we go. There we go. Or maybe I should keep it off, though. I should be like everybody else on the call, hiding behind the camera. You guys don't want to be seen. I still see you. I'm still going to call on you if you don't have your camera on. So why don't we just go ahead and turn them on? Let's go. All right. So I want to get into it, but I want to start off by asking this. And I want to do things a little differently because we have a smaller group today, and I knew that we would. First question is, over the last week, from your prospecting and your lead gen and your conversations, is there a situation that popped up that you had a hard time dealing with? Was there a tough question, a tough situation, a tough objection that kept you from getting the opportunity you were looking for that you want to bring up right now that we can discuss so that next time that happens, you know how to handle it? Talk to me.
David, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
David, go, and then Laura, go. Go.
No, I shared this with Matt, and I actually role played it with Pete a little bit. But you know, I was referred a client by a previous client.
Yep.
And he's a contractor, and he was like, you know, come on, man, like do it for 4%. You know, like there's more work coming behind this. And I was joking with the guys. I was like, yo, I'm so thankful for script practice, because the first thing out of my mouth is like, I'm not doing it for 4%. Like confidently saying that's not going to happen. Right. So then my next question was like, do you understand how commissions work? Right. And I ran down the government, my broker, I got to get paid something. And then I went into the whole, we want to have money to offer, you know, buyers agents that really bring qualified buyers. So we can get your property sold quickly. One other thing. What else there was one other thing. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank.
All good, man.
Yeah, but just the practice of being on these calls, right? Even if you're not making your calls or whatever, right? Just, you got to role play, you got to make your calls. But I was in a situation where they're like, we're going to be in the car for an hour, we're driving to Brooklyn, call us back. So I did a cloud CMA, you know, and I basically, you know, a little unorthodox, right? Like I didn't get belly to belly, but I know these guys, right?
Okay.
So like they wanted to know like, how much can I sell my house for? So I did a cloud CMA, and I called them, and I sent them a text with like 3 properties, and I said, listen, this is my opinion, this is what I think. You know, oh, another agent told me he could sell it for like 580. I said, I wouldn't tell you that based on the comps. I said, did you look at the comps I sent you? You know, and I said, now in the market that we're in, we could potentially get you 580, but I'm not going to tell you that. But I would list it here and aim to get you this, this, and this. But all of that came about from him basically saying, you know, will you do it for 4%? Oh, the other thing I said was, you don't seem like a discount kind of guy, right?
Yeah.
And I said the 4% like ties my hands, right? I said, so I ran through the you know, the Uncle Sam, my broker, you know, I got to get paid. We want to offer the most amount of money to other agents. And then I said, you know, and you have to give me the tools that I need to work with to properly market your property. And like all of that, literally, David, just came out from consistently being on these calls.
I love to hear that. So let me ask you a question, man, because I love the way you handled that. But when he said to you, come on, man, will you do it for 4%? You said he's a contractor, right?
Yes.
Did you think about maybe asking him, like, how do you handle it when you're up for a job and you go out and pitch someone and they try to get you to discount your rates? What is your response?
I did not think about that, but I will use that the next time I speak to him or any other contractor.
Yeah. Yeah. Seriously, because I like flipping that on them, saying, hey, so let me ask you a question. If you came and I told you I want to, you know, redo my basement, and you hit me with your number and I'm like, come on, man, do it for this price. What are you going to tell me?
Right.
Right. Because to do it for that price, what do you have to do? You have to cut back on maybe some of the materials you're using, maybe on the people that you're hiring to get the work done. I want your best job possible. Can you do that if you're discounting what you charge me? And he's going to say no. Same thing here.
Absolutely going to say no.
Yep. Yep. And guys that are new to this call, David brought up something. He talked about being able to explain how commission works. I've shared this on the call before, but I just want to show you guys again, because I think it's something you need to see over and over again. and something you need to put into practice. What David was talking about was explaining where the money goes. So I have, these are fake dollar bills with 6 singles, and these represent 6% commission. And the way, if I were you, that I would pose this up to a seller is by explaining, yes, I'm charging you 6, automatically 3% is off the table because that's going directly to the buyer's agent. I'm left with 3%. And out of that, this is how commission works. We have to pay Uncle Sam, our favorite uncle. We have a brokerage that we're affiliated with, and they get their cut. And then I'm left with my share. And out of my share, half of this goes to all the marketing that I explained in my pre-listing packet, the photos, the staging, the social media ads, whatever you do with marketing. And then the rest is where I take care of my family. So when you ask me to drop it to 4%, how can I really do that and do the best job for you? We still want to pay out a great commission to the buyer's agent because we want this property to be shown to as many people as possible. We do that by paying them a fair commission and making sure that they're incentivized to show your property. I still have to pay Uncle Sam. I still have to pay my broker. And so when you ask me to cut my commission, where is that cut going to come from? I still have a mortgage to pay. I still have to pay groceries. I have a kid going to college. Anybody who's going to discount their commission, where do you think they're going to discount it from? And typically the seller will say the marketing or what they pay the buyer agent. And you agree with them. Yeah, the marketing. And if they're cutting back on what they do to market your property, do you think they can sell it for top dollar? I'm going to show you how by paying the fair commission, you're going to make more money than you could selling the home on your own. And that's what's important to you, the most money you put in your pocket, right? And if you have that conversation with them and you get them to be involved in that conversation, and you're asking questions and using tie downs, all the things we should be doing with scripts, before you know it, you have this person agreeing with you. And they're like, okay, yeah, I see your point. And then you have to go in for your close. David, thank you, man. That was definitely a great topic. Anyone else? Lord, Renee, I think you were saying something, right? Who else had a situation?
No, that was, I think that was Tiffany.
Okay. Who else had?
Oh, this is Tiffany. I'm new to the call, but I actually have an objection for that as well. That works every time,
Give
and
it to us.
it's just clear. They always come back and say, well, Joe was willing to do it for 4% total, and I would say, I can understand how that would be enticing, but let me ask you this. No, I usually say, but I have a problem with that. And the reason why is if Joe cannot negotiate the commission that it takes to market your property, how would they be able to negotiate the fair price it is to sell your property? And normally the commission conversation at that point just cease, and I get my 6%.
I love that.
Because
I do a similar thing. I think that's a really strong way to handle it. Typically, I do it but I'm asking the seller a little bit more questions, and I say, I can appreciate you found someone to do it for less. Let me ask you, as you interview agents, I'm sure that one of the skill sets that would be really important to you is making sure your agent is a tough negotiator, right? And they always agree. And I would say, so it really surprises me that you're interested in working with them, because that's someone that you were able to out negotiate. Is that who you really want representing your biggest asset? It's the same thing you said, it's just a different way, right?
So many different ways. I even say, I'm a little troubled with that, because if they can't negotiate their fee that feeds their family, how can they negotiate the rate on your property? And it's the presentation, you have to say it with conviction and confidence to even get it done. But I usually don't have to negotiate commission after that.
Well, so you said something and David said something. I don't know if you guys are listening to this. Half of what we do on the phones and when we're in front of an actual client, it's having the confidence. It's that swagger that you have. And they're like, you walk in and you have the confidence and you believe what you say, and you're willing to say, nope, I'm not lowering my commission. You have any other questions? Like, the way you handle yourself goes a long way, which is one of the reasons I shared with you guys back in the day. I used to take my sign and knock on the front door. Like, I'm showing up at the appointment, claiming that listing with the confidence that it's my listing. They see that. secretly they want someone that's that confident. They don't want to hire someone that's not sure of themselves. They want that confident agent. Be confident. And you get confident through what David said, being on this call and practicing and knowing how to handle these situations. Alberto, go ahead.
Yes, I remember that sometimes you said sometimes the seller is curious about your commission. What to say? Will you cut your commission to 4%? No, any other questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, and start quiet.
Yep.
Stay quiet. Don't say anything else.
A lot of times people are told, see if your agent will negotiate. Mine did. And so they say, will you lower, to your point, will you lower your commission? You have to practice this and you have to learn it. The answer is no. Do you have any other questions? And then you got to shut up and not say anything else. And you got to learn to sit there in that uncomfortable silence until they say, okay, right? And then they sign the paperwork. You start talking, you may mess up that opportunity. So just learn to put it out there, like Alberto said. No, do you have any other questions?
And also the other thing is 95% of buyers work with an agent, and the agent look for properties that offer them the most incentive for them, you know, and they are gonna discount the properties that only offer for 2% or 1%. Do you think if you don't get motivated the other agents, it's gonna take longer to sell your property? Do you are aware of that, Mr. Seller?
Love it. Love it. Hey, so I just want to address something really quickly, and I can't really see it, but I'm seeing all these texts pop up where people are asking about the call. I will tell you guys this. We're going to have this call every Friday unless you hear differently from me. You guys should be getting an email from me every week telling you what's going on with the call. I also post it on social media when we're having the call. But the best thing that you can do, and I know this is one of the things all of us struggle with as real estate agents, is understanding the bold law that it's not about selling real estate, it's about following a schedule. So if you're committed to this call, on your calendar, Friday at 8:30 should be Friday script practice with David. Inside of that calendar invite should be the link for this call. Every Friday, you guys shouldn't be searching for it. You should know where it is. It should be in your calendar. And it should be just part of your everyday thing that you do. You click on the link, you start the call. We're going to have it every week unless I'm traveling. And even when I'm traveling, Pete was covering. So my goal is to have this call consistently every Friday, because I know a lot of times this is the only time you guys get an opportunity to practice your scripts, either because you aren't as committed to it or your partners aren't committed to showing up. I want to make sure this call is available for you guys. So just make sure you have that in your calendar and know we're going to have the call every Friday unless you hear differently from me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, anything else before we get into script practice? Any other scenarios? Like I said 2 weeks ago, when I asked this question, what are some scenarios or objections that you guys are coming up against that you're having a hard time overcoming? When I don't have almost every hand raised on this call, the question I'm asking myself is, are you guys actually making your calls? The narrative in my head is probably not, right? I know Matt's making his calls. I'm sure David's making his calls. Matt may not want to speak because he doesn't want to be the person always talking on here. He's trying to leave some room for you other guys to pop in here and talk. This is what the call is for. Stop playing it safe and sitting on the sidelines. If you're making the calls, get on here and talk about what's happening so that we can help you improve. That's what this is for. This is what I get my Friday mornings up for, is to help you guys. Help me help you. What's up, Beverly?
Good morning.
Hey.
So, yeah, I have a question, but I didn't want to bring it up because I didn't know if everybody else has. It might be something that they've encountered already, and nothing really helpful for everybody. I'm not sure, but I did make a call to a for sale by owner, another elderly man, and I did end up looking him up. He's probably like 87 or something. He's got a home which I think might not be in tip-top condition in a wonderful area, but his on Zillow, it said he didn't want to, but he had an email address for inquiries. Can you hear me? You can hear
Yes,
me,
I
right?
can. I can hear you.
To submit inquiries by email. I thought about calling him anyway, but then I didn't want. So I sent him a very short email, basically telling him who I am and saying I had a couple of questions to ask you that only you would be able to answer if you would just give me a call back. He knew I was. He actually did. He called and he left me a message, a long message, basically, you know, I'm going to summarize it. He's basically saying, yeah, you know, I really don't take calls from realtors. I hate realtors. And, you know, he's going on to the whole thing. Obviously must have had some history. Really don't know what it is. But I didn't call him back yet. So he definitely seems to be reaching out in a way, but telling me he hates realtors, doesn't want to talk to realtors. If I had a buyer, he didn't even say if he was cooperating. I guess he must be if he called me back.
Lean into it. If it were me, I would call him back and I'm like, hey, I heard your message and I appreciate you even calling me back since you've had such a bad history with agents. It sounds like I'm so curious, like what happened?
Yeah.
Like I would just get him to start talking and opening up about that bad experience. And then I would turn that conversation into digging into motivation.
Yeah. He
Find out
also,
why he had a bad experience.
he didn't have any pictures. He's another one that didn't have any pictures. He really, you know, no pictures.
Yeah.
And his message was saying that, you know, the house is structurally sound, but people want to redo it around here. I see all these beautiful glass houses they're building here, you know, out of control. Mine isn't like that, but I have the property.
Yeah.
You know, and that was his long message that he left me. He really left me a chock full of information.
But the one thing he said, I hope you heard, and I hope everybody else on this call heard, if he doesn't like dealing with realtors, when I call him back, I'm not David the realtor. I'm David the marketing specialist. I'm David the real estate consultant. I'm never using that word realtor again when I call him back.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I understand you don't like dealing with realtors. Actually, I'm a marketing consultant. And what I do is I help sellers like you learn how to price and market their property effectively and get it sold. And so, number one, I'd love to hear about the issues you have with agents, but more importantly, I'd like to show you what I do differently.
And I have consulting fees.
Exactly. It's not commissioned, it's a consulting fee. Exactly, Raj. So we have to hear what they're saying and we have to speak to that. I'm never going to use the word realtor again when I talk to this person. You're absolutely right, Raj. Thank you for jumping in with that. And Beverly, I would call him back today.
Yeah.
I would maybe offer to do an open house for him. He's an elderly gentleman. Hey, let me go buy you lunch. Let me sit here and do an open house for you for 2 hours and give you feedback on what people actually think about your property. Someone here is asking, where do we find these scripts? So I'm going to tell you the best place to find the scripts. I send a video recording of all these calls out each week. The best way to do this is to go back, listen to the video, pause, and write the script down. Everything you hear on this call that's like, that's really good, you need to start writing out the script and creating your own script booklet. That's the beauty of watching these on video. You're able to go back and pause it and take notes. Go ahead, Beverly, go ahead.
And if you want to try to help master your scripts, take push.
Well, there's that. There's that.
I said it.
And I will tell you, just so you guys know, the deadline to register for push is tonight at midnight. After tonight, I'm not accepting anymore. We're almost over 30 people, so I'm going to keep it smaller class. If you want to get in, absolutely. Absolutely, Beverly. Thanks for bringing that up. All right, let's get into it. I'm going to throw out an objection, and I'm going to choose like 3 people to overcome the objection. Here's the thing. You can't say what someone else has said. You have to have a different way to overcome the objection. I want to show everybody on this call that there's at least 3 to 5 ways to handle any objection. So I'm going to start off by talking about commission. So get ready. If you want to volunteer, you can raise your hand. I may or may not pick on you. I'm going to be calling on people. And if you don't know the answer, just unmute and say, I'm not sure how to handle that. I'm okay if you don't know how to handle it. However, unmute and say something. So here it is. The commission, the objection is, hey, listen, I'm really interested in working with you. I liked everything you presented. However, we need to net a certain amount on the sale of this home, and we can't do it if you're charging 6%. If you'll do it for 4%, we'll list with you today. That's my commission. Will you lower your commission to 4%? If so, I will give it to you today. I'm going to go to Yvonne Hendricks. How would you handle that?
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm a very new real estate agent, so I've been
Awesome.
listening to these calls.
Awesome.
Trying to learn from everyone, so I'll try to practice what I've heard so far. But based on kind of some of the scripts that you guys have been using, I've been hearing everyone basically saying two things. So I would say to the potential seller that, if we only go with 4%, that really wouldn't give us enough commission, enough of a split to make sure that it's attractive enough for buyers agents to bring potential qualified buyers through to your home. So we want to make sure that, there's enough of an attractive commission on the buyer side.
Yeah, but I heard the market
to
is so hot right now. I don't really have to do anything to sell my house. It sells on its own. So why should I have to pay out more commission when homes are just selling like hotcakes? Like that's what I've been hearing.
So the market is, but we want to make sure that we bring qualified buyers through here. So there's a lot of people going to see homes who may not be qualified. And then also, if there are other homes that are offering a higher commission on the buyer side, it's less likely for that buyer's agent to bring folks through here to your home. So we are kind of posing a risk that we won't get as many people through here. And that could also impact the price that you end up getting for your home.
Okay. Okay. So Yvonne, one thing I want to point out to you, and this is something I want everybody else to hear as well. I'm not disagreeing with anything that you said, and yet you were saying a lot. You didn't really ask me any questions. And so one thing
Yes.
I know you're newer, so one thing I just want to share with you, just so you know, if we say something to a seller or even to a buyer, guys, and we know it and we believe it, and we say it, a lot of times they're just like, well, that's your opinion. That's what you think. If you learn to ask the questions and get the seller to come to that same conclusion, once the seller says it, it's fact. And then all you're doing is agreeing with the seller. So one thing that I'd love for you to work on, Yvonne, and everyone on this call, is when you have a statement to say, think about, how can I pose this as a question to really get the seller involved and get them to draw the same conclusion? The questions are really what's going to help you win. So really work on not just knowing the script, but also learning how to ask powerful questions as well. Good job. And I appreciate you unmuting. That's awesome.
Sure. Thanks. I was nervous, but thank you.
Well, listen, we're all nervous. Like you're in front of your peers. And the thing is, and this is the reason why I do this call, I want you to be nervous here so that when you're in front of the actual seller, you can be like David said earlier, you can be confident. You build your confidence by coming here every week and really understanding what to say and how to say it. And before you know it, you're showing up and you're saying it with conviction and they believe you. And let me just say something really quickly here. Anybody understand the difference between the upswing and the downswing? Like imagine you're talking to your kids and you're like,
Yes.
Go to your room versus go to your room. Which one do you think they're going to listen to more? The downswing when I say go to your room. So if someone says,
the dad's voice.
Yeah, exactly. Like if they say, will you lower your commission? And I say, no, do you have any other questions? Versus, no, do you have any other questions? It's a difference. And so part of learning scripts, yes, it's about tonality. It's about mirror and matching. It's about asking questions. It's also about the way you deliver the script. And you need to practice delivering it with a downswing. It's authority. You want them to see you as an authority. And so you got to be really careful on using upswings and down. These are all things that we'll learn in this class, but it's one of the things that I want you guys to think about as you're practicing your scripts, because the way you practice here is the way you're going to do it out in the real world. And all these things are important. All these little pieces are extremely important. All right, so next one, I'm going to throw this out. Again, I have an agent who's willing to do it for 4. You're at 6. Will you lower your commission tonight? And then I'm coming to Diego.
Good morning.
Morning.
I want to put my camera on.
And I'm gonna say this: when I call on you guys, just go right into your objection handling. I want you guys to act like this is real play. And I appreciate you saying good morning today, but I just want you guys to get right into it. All right, let's go.
Okay, got it. Okay, so David, if I understand correctly, you want me to lower my commission to 4% from 6. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so do you know how commissions work?
I mean, I pay you a commission and you sell my house. I mean, what do you mean?
So it's a little more complex than that. If you would allow me just to give you a brief overview, would that be okay?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so the commission is split up in several ways. The whole 6% doesn't come to me, right? I have to split that between Yes. So if I have $6 here, I have to give 2 of those dollars to my buyer's agent. So that could almost guarantee that we're going to have some qualified buyers coming through. So now we're left with 4%, right? With that 4%, I have to take at least 1% of that and give it to my broker. So now we're down to 3%, right? Now with the 3% that's left, I also have to get this house sold. How do you think we get the house sold?
Marketing.
Exactly. So marketing is not cheap, right? I have to do social. I have to get things printed out, flyers, open houses, things of that nature. So let's take another 1% away. So now we're left with 2%. And this 2%, it could be all mine, but it also, I might, you never know what extras may come up. So technically, David, I'm only going to walk away from this deal with 2%. And 2% out of 6 will help me get your home sold for what we hope would be a higher percentage rate. So at the end of the day, that 6%, if we get you a higher offer on your house, really it balances itself out. Or if not, cancels itself out. Does that make sense?
It's starting to, yeah.
Okay, so the point I'm trying to make here is that at the end of the day, I know you want to net a certain amount, right? And I want to make sure you net that certain amount. And this 6% commission is going to allow me to do so. So if you agree to sign on with me at 6%, we're going to get your house sold, hopefully for top dollar or more. How does that sound?
Well, so what I hear you saying though, like, so if you brought the buyer yourself, then you would only charge 4% because you don't have to pay out that too. Is that right?
Not necessarily. So if I'm your agent, I'm working for you, the seller, right? Not the buyer. My dedication, my time, my fiduciary duties are due to you. So that 6% goes to you fully. I will give a buyer's agent 2% of that 6% so that they can bring us the qualified buyer, which would leave me time to focus on you. You don't want me working for the buyer and the seller, do you?
No, I don't. But if you don't have a buyer's agent to pay, then that 2% could be taken off, right? If you bring your own buyer and you're representing both sides, then you would do it for 4 of them, right?
No, I don't think it's advantageous for you or me to bring you a buyer. I think we have I work with tons of agents, okay, within my sphere. And I can guarantee they're going to bring maybe 2-3 times more buyers through if I had worked with them, as opposed to me trying to get buyers on my own and trying to sell your home at the same time.
Okay, I'm gonna pause you right there. A couple of things I want to say. Number one, when she said pay out 2 to the buyers, I was like, oh, okay, I see what we're doing here. And listen, I'm not mad at however you guys decide to do your commission. However, if you're going to do it that way, you got to be able to explain it and make sense of it. And so today, when I was hitting you with if you bring the buyer yourself, then it should be only 4%. I want you to tighten up that response a little bit.
Okay.
And you were saying some of the right things. What I would say is, I would love to just, make 4% and it's all mine. That's more than me making what I typically make. What you need to understand though, is if I just focus on finding you a buyer, I'm not really doing my job for you. I have a fiduciary duty to you to make sure I'm bringing you the many buyers and bringing you multiple offers so that you can choose the best. The way that I do that is by promoting this property and making sure the agents know I'm paying a fair commission, because in order to get you the most money, we need more eyes on this property. So I'm not looking out for me here. I'm looking out for you. And this is why we need to pay out a fair commission. I don't typically double in both sides because that's not doing the best service for you in most situations. That's one thing you could say.
Okay.
Matt was saying something here too in the chat. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, you're right, Matt. Just with practice, she'll definitely button that up. But today, one thing I like to say about you is your confidence in your voice. You sound very confident in what you're delivering. And that's half the battle right there. It's just having the confidence. You can tighten it up a little bit, but just how you sound on the phone is really good. And you sound like you know what you're talking about, which goes a long way.
Thank you. I'm trying to learn.
You're doing more than trying. There's no try. You either do or you don't. You're here.
Right.
You're here.
Right.
You're doing more than trying. You're plugging in. So give yourself some grace. You're doing it.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Appreciate the feedback.
You got it. Diego, what did you have for us?
David, I absolutely appreciate, and I can understand where you're coming from with that. You know, there's always other people that are willing to do it at a lower price, right?
Right. Well, of course.
Yeah, it's just like everything else in life, right? You know, for example, let's say the roof on your house, right? You get a good roofing contractor come in here, and they're gonna quote you a fair market value for the price of doing that roof, right?
Okay.
So there's always somebody that could do it for lower, correct? Who would you rather hire to do your roof? You would agree that the roof is a very important part of your house, wouldn't you?
I absolutely would agree.
Yeah, absolutely. So who would you rather hire to do the roof on your house? A qualified, verified, professional contractor? Or would you just rather go to Home Depot and hire one of the day laborers that are there just to do your roof?
I mean, I want somebody who's going to do it right.
Yeah, correct. And then this is exactly the same. You know, there's a lot of discount people out there, but you do want somebody to do this right for you and to net you the most amount of money, wouldn't you?
So I got to pause you. Diego, what you're saying is right. Here's what I know about you, Diego. You have a lot of experience. And as you were talking, I was thinking about your brother who does AC and heating, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have a story where he met with someone, gave this quote, and they didn't hire him. They went with someone cheaper, but then they ended up calling him back because that cheap person didn't do the job correctly, and it ended up costing them more in the long run because they tried to go the cheap route. I'd rather have you tell me a quick story about
Okay.
someone who went the cheap route and it backfired, and then they had to end up spending more money, because you never know how inexpensive it is to hire a professional till you hire an amateur. If you take it there, I think it'll have more legs on it.
And I have the story about, and I actually have the story about the roof because that happened in one of my listings a few years ago.
Let's role play it out and tell me the story.
All right.
So, Diego, listen, man, if you do it for 4, 6% is too high. If you do it for 4, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, look, David, I could definitely appreciate that, right? And look, let me just share a quick little story with you, David. In everything in life, there's always people that will do it for a discount, and there's professionals, right? So, let's say the roof in your house. You would think that you would agree that that's a very important part of your house, wouldn't you?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right. So I actually had a seller about 3.5 years ago or so, right? And he redid his whole entire roof, right? And he got a few quotes from professional, licensed, really good verified contractors, roofing contractors that specialize in roofing, right? He decided to go and just hire somebody from Home Depot, one of the day laborers there. They came, they redid his whole roof, right, at a very, very cheap price, probably less than half of what the contractor was charging. That being said, about 6 months later, the roof started leaking.
Hmm.
So what do you think he had to do then?
He probably had to call those professionals back and pay a lot more to get it corrected.
You're absolutely right, David. So he had to call the professional. Now they had to come and actually spend more money out of his own pocket because they had to take out what the other person didn't do correctly and do it correctly the second time around. We don't want that to happen to your house on the sale of the house. Do you, David?
Love that. That's more powerful with the story. And I'm thinking, Diego, to say something like, at least he had the opportunity to come back and hire a professional. What concerns me is if you hire that cheaper agent, yeah, they'll get your home sold. But in 6 months later, when you found out you left $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 on the table, you have no recourse. So what I want to do is come out and show you what I do, how I help my sellers get top dollar. And whatever you decide after that, I'm okay with. I just think you need to know what your options are, because the last thing you want to do is sell this property and not pull all your equity out, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So I like all that, like all together, but that story, that Diego, was so much better than what you said before. Because it's that whole, like, almost like that Phil Felt Found script. That's what you're doing through your story. So work on telling stories, guys. And it doesn't have to be your story. If I'm talking to a seller, I can tell that same story Diego told. And I can say, look, we had a seller. Notice how I said we, not I. We had a seller, and this is what they did with their roof, and this is what happened. I'm learning how to tell stories. Diego, that was awesome, man.
Imagine we all go on the same listing appointment and tell the same story. That happened with me and Mina one time with the commission, but with the dollar thing, Mina came out. Do you understand how commissions work? The guy's like, "Yeah, somebody already explained that to me." And she said, "Was Diego here?" He's like, "Yeah, you know Diego."
That's funny, man. Well, it's good to say, well, at least you're talking to highly trained real estate agents. It shows that you're meeting with the right people. Let me talk to you about why you should hire me over Diego, though. Good stuff, man. Matt, what's up, dude? What you got for us?
Nah, I for Diego, just watch your filler words, bro. You just seemed like you're a little nervous on your first go around. You had right. I think I counted like 5 or 6 times. It was like right, right, right. So just watch your filler words. You know the scripts, dude. You know it.
I noticed that I do some filler words. Like I say, listen a lot. There's some filler words that I throw out that I need to work on. And I appreciate you guys. Like, listen, this is not just my call. This is your call. We're all here as a community to help each other get better. I don't see anything with Matt pointing that out to Diego. Diego needs that feedback, and I didn't even notice it. So just know we should all be helping each other and giving feedback. It's not just on me. This is a community of all of us working to get better. So Matt, thank you for that. What's up, Mr. Gossett? Who has his license in New York and New Jersey, and you know this because he has it on the screen. What's up, David?
I was going to tell Diego when you suggested feel, felt, found.
Yep.
I find that it's very helpful to use those words, right? So when you're telling the story, say, you know, I know exactly how you feel, and I've had other clients have felt the same way, but what they found, like when you do that, bro, it just, it tees it all the way up. So I wasn't thinking that until David said it, but had you said that in your story, it just lines it up, right? And then in their head, it just puts it in order for them. But I was ready to list with you at the end of that. But I think that if you said feel, felt, found, it would be even stronger. That's my 2 cents.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. That's good feedback. Dominique, what's going on?
I have a question about the person that was before Diego. I forget her name. So in that call, well, that mock session, you said to her, could you offer 4% to you and then 2% to the buyer's agent? What do you do in the situation? What is the objection when you're handling both sides of the transaction?
Give me an example, like serve that up as a question for me.
So if I'm representing the buyer and the seller.
And what would be the objection? Maybe I didn't hear where you were coming from.
Okay, so you said to her, okay, great, you could pay the buyer's agent less, right?
Right.
The whole thing was about the commission, right? So what would I say if I'm handling both sides? Does that make sense?
I think so. So for me, what I would say to people is, you know, my commission's 6. You want me to lower it if I'm handling both sides to only 4. The reason why I'm not lowering it is because now I'm doing double the work. You know, I really should be charging you more of the 6% because now I'm handling both sides of the transaction. And the hardest part is not bringing an offer in that you find acceptable. The hardest part is navigating that buyer and the seller through the attorney review period, through the inspection period, making sure that all the funds have been secured, making sure that that buyer has been vetted. I am working harder when I have 2. So I don't discount my commission if that's the case. I'm working a lot harder. Does that make sense?
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Did that answer your question?
No, it did. Thank you.
Okay, good. All right. Tiffany, what's up, Tiffany Tucker?
Yeah, I was just piggybacking. I think it's similar because it's 3% per transaction. And if we're doing both sides of the transaction, and I tend to keep my commissions equal to all parties. So if we're 3% on my side, and he say, well, if you get the buyer, you can I can possibly get it for 4%. Well, Mr. Seller is 3% per transaction. I'm working your transaction for 3% and their transaction as well for 3%.
Got it. Why do you keep it even? And the reason why I'm asking this is I felt the same way in the beginning, and then I started seeing things a little differently. Why do you feel like you should keep it, 3 and 3?
Okay. You know what? I used to do that as well. It depends on the market that you're in. And of course, we're going into a situation where it may not be equal, but buyers agents in the market, when they're having conversations and they're not privy to what you do, you get a lot of insight of what they're thinking as well.
Okay.
And I want to, my sphere are the sellers that I represent and the agents that sell property in my area. And when I have a home that's listed, I automatically go out to that sphere. I get the top 50 that's in that area, and they always receive information from me. If I start going to a closing where they can see that they were shorted, what they think they're shorted 1% by me, it just wasn't going over well. So I decided it was a business decision for me to make it 3%, 3%, because they are part of my sphere, because I really don't represent any buyers at all. Not at all. I refer all of my buyers out, and I actually they pay a referral fee to me. So I'm relying on them to bring me a buyer.
All right. So
that's why I decided to change it.
I get you. Let me just have you think about this a little differently. Not working to change your mind. I just wanted to tell you how I thought about it. I felt the same way in the beginning. And then I started looking at the MLS and looking at stats. Most agents were being paid 2.5%. And one thing I realized when I was a listing agent, the minute they signed the paperwork, I was coming out of pocket spending money, hiring a stager, professional photographer. I'm ordering postcards. I'm paying for social media marketing. I'm spending money. And if that property doesn't sell, I don't get recouped on that money. So I am taking a risk as a listing agent, and I felt like I needed to be compensated for it. So I started charging 6 and keeping 3.5 and paying out 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
I never
and you're taking a risk. And I hear you, and we can go on and on about, the advantages or disadvantages. I would say just do what's best for your business. But I do know that I can't sell a house without a buyer's agent bringing me a buyer, because I don't work with buyers. I don't market to buyers. I need them to have the incentive as well. And I get paid very well to list and market these properties for someone to bring me a buyer. And if they're sitting across the table and they're not quite happy with their commission, it lowers the percentage that they'll bring me another one. So to keep my relationships good in my market, that's just my business decision.
And Tiffany, I respect your business decision. And I just got to say one more thing. You can ignore me if you want to. I just got to say this. You aren't counting on them to help you sell the house. They're counting on you to do your job and get listings so they have a property to show their buyers. They have tons of buyers and no inventory. So when you are out there doing your job, they are happy that you are getting the listings, and they would be more than happy to bring their buyers and get their 2.5% because you're doing the heavy lifting. They can't.
You're right about that, David. But guess what? I told you it's from region to region, right?
Yeah.
My inventory here is at 6 months.
Oh, is it?
Oh, yes. So if they're looking at a house, they have, when we were in a market where it was only like a 30-day inventory, that's when I was getting paid more. But guess what? It's not there anymore. So when they're looking at my houses, they have 4 and 5 that's on the market the same time as mine. So they have a lot more options. So I just, like I said, it was a business decision, and it depends and it varies in your market. The great part about this market is they know that I'm going to bring 3% to the table. I'm not negotiating 5% contracts or 4% contracts. So they're getting the most money possible on these deals. And it's, that's why I'm selling properties when other people are not.
That makes sense.
It's a good decision for me.
It is a great, and Tiffany, the reason why I kept pushing back on you, I was doing it on purpose. And let me tell you why. I was hoping everybody on this call was paying attention to how confident you sounded. Like, your stuff, your worth, your market, your numbers. I just wanted you to keep talking. That's why I kept pushing back and forth. I hope you guys heard her. This is how you need to show up on the phones and in person. I can tell that Tiffany's somebody I would list my property with because she's confident. She has business standards. She knows what she's talking about. That's what we need to sound like. Go ahead, Tiffany. I'm proud of you. I like that. I like your answer. I was just pushing
Thank
back
you
on you,
so
giving
much.
you a hard time, so you keep talking. That's good stuff. Good stuff. Richard, what's up, sir? Yeah. Oh, yeah. And people are saying we just wish Tiffany's camera was on so we could see you, Tiffany, because I know there's more authority when we can see you as well. So maybe.
Oh yeah, you know what? You catch me later on in the afternoon. You do. I actually have a call that I do before this, and it gets me up at 5:30 in the morning. But I heard you say about the phone calls, but I am actually off today. I needed an off day. I had to transfer to another brokerage, and I transferred 25 listings by myself
Wait, hold on a second.
and
Stop,
going under
pause, wait,
contract.
stop, pause. First of all, I was going to give you a hard time saying, you was out partying in essence, but it sounds like you were actually working. So
Yeah,
did you just say you have 25 listings?
I do.
Okay. Do me a favor and put your number in the chat. We need to talk. I'm loving that.
That's right.
It's in the
David, I
chat.
think she deserved a day off then.
I think you
Yeah,
deserve a day off
I
too.
had to
You get a
transfer
pass.
those.
You get a
And
pass,
yeah,
girl. You get a
yeah.
pass. Don't worry about it.
And I
Yeah, Tiff-
had some going under contract, all of that. I needed my brain space. I had to take off. So I'm able to get on this call because of that. Because I hit the ball rolling at 7:30. I'm in my office. So
Yeah, well,
yeah.
Tiffany, put your contact information in the chat for me to call, but also you got agents from around the country on here. And so they see that you're working. If they have anybody in New Orleans, they can reach out to you. So please put your information in the chat. I'm going to reach out to you because I want to have a conversation with you about what you have done to get the 25. Okay.
Sure.
All right. Thank you. Richard, what's up, man?
Yeah, I just wanted to share one way that I've handled that objection over commission. And I knew going into a presentation, commission was going to be an issue. The seller wanted to talk about commission straight off from the beginning. And so the way that I handled it was, well, I pushed it aside. I went through my presentation full of enthusiasm, full of energy, so that at the end of that presentation, I was able to look at him and say, hey, Mr. Seller, commission I know is an issue with you. Let me ask you, what do you feel I'm worth? And at that moment, his answer was, you're the best agent I've talked to. And so I responded to him and I said, hey, well, just so you know, I'm worth 7% and I'm going to give you a discount and list it for 6%. I didn't get the listing, but the way that it panned out, I felt really good about it. Ultimately, I found out later that he paid his other agent 1%. Wow. And wanted 3% to go to buyer's agent. So he didn't really see, I don't think he really saw value. But as far as handling the objection, I felt good about it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so I have a quick question, then I'm going to Diego. So you said 7, but I'm going to give you a discount to 6. And this is when you were in front of him at an actual listing presentation, right?
Uh-huh.
So when he didn't sign the paperwork with you that evening, did you ask any questions like, other than commission, is there anything keeping you from listing with me tonight? Like, what kept him from signing the paperwork when you were there? What kept you from closing him?
So he ultimately, when I asked, he said that he wanted to discuss it with his wife. And during pre-qualification, he said he was making the decision. And so he kind of ran out on me on the end of the presentation.
Where was his wife when you were presenting?
I don't know.
So one question I want you to add to your pre-qualification questionnaire is, when I come out and meet with you Wednesday at 6 p.m., will all decision makers be available? If they aren't going to be available, I want you to either see if they can be on Zoom or be on the conference call. And if they can't both be together, reschedule when they can be, because they will never sign with you if the other person's not there. And we allow them to talk to other agents if we don't get it locked up. So make sure that during your pre-qualification, your main question is, are all decision makers going to be there?
Yeah, he told me during the qualification that it was going to be just him, and then at the presentation he changed. I called him out on it, and I forget what he responded, but he was dodging a lot of dodging, and then he was like, I got to get going, and it was running out, and
he is using you for a number more than likely is what it sounds like. he was playing games. Listen, we know from looking at tax records, there's 2 names on that deed. Like, do our job and say, hey, I see, is your wife going to be here? No, she's not going to be here. It's just me. Well, actually, I need to sit down with the both of you. Even if you are the main decision maker, I need both parties to be present. When can that happen? Like, I won't go if both decision makers aren't going to be there. It's a standard I have in my business. I would encourage you to think about, really not going on the appointment if they're not going to allow both people to be there.
Yeah, and it's definitely a lesson learned.
Yeah, well, listen, at least you learn from it. I call it, don't be offended by this, but I call it we pay the dummy tax, right? We learn that hard lesson, and then next time you won't let it happen again. Like, it happens to all of us, including me.
I'm new, so I'm paying a lot of dummy tax.
Listen, as long as you're learning, you either win or you learn. There's no failure. So just know that. And I appreciate you speaking up. Diego, what's up? And then I'm coming to Tiffany.
Okay, not to like veer off of the script practice or anything, but I actually had a question for Tiffany. First of all, awesome. You definitely have your sellers, best interest at heart, by paying 3 and 3. That's great. Now, the question that I have is, so I don't know any other market but this, COVID and post-COVID market, right? I don't know what it's like for, for inventory to be crazy high and stuff like that, right? How would it be if instead of offering, 3 and 3, instead of offering the buyer agent more money, offer the actual buyer an incentive in money? Do you think that would work out better? Or no?
Because I'm in a market where I'm paying concessions as well. Okay. I have a property that our market changed June 22nd of 2022 is when our market changed. So 2023, I listed a house. It went under contract a week ago. That's the market we're in. Okay. It went under contract a week ago. Now, I'm going to say this. It's imperative to get the houses priced right. Okay. But we have sellers that have the attitude of 2021, 2022 market, right? So I'm having to work with them to let them know realistically what this market is. And if we are not going under contract, the price is not right. It was right in 2022. It's not right for this market right now. So we're still paying concessions, although we're paying higher, percentages. We're paying concessions. So I'm having to be very creative, but we're having to give money to these buyers because the market has shifted in their favor. So we can offer that, but we're still going to have to pay the higher commission. I mean, it's just, that's the market we're in. And believe it or not, I was talking to someone that's been in a market for a very long time, and 6 months is a normalized market. And that may be like surprising news to people, but 6 months is a normal market. And I was a pandemic agent. I came in when the market was hot, and I was selling like crazy as a new agent. And nothing has changed in this normal market. It requires you to have more skill, but nothing's changed. I'm still selling.
Back to the basics. And again, I'm impressed with you, Tiffany. You guys heard her. June 22nd, 2020. She knows her numbers. She knows her market. She is an expert. And a big part of being an expert is knowing your market, just like Tiffany does. Really quickly, I know you had your hand raised. I'm going to go to you. I just want to say one thing. I want to know who's on the call. So there's someone on here, iPhone 4. If you can change your name so we can actually see your name displayed, or at least put your name in the chat. And then moving forward, when you guys join, like people who are on here, a Zoom user and iPhone, we want to know who you are. So either put your name in the chat or rename yourself on Zoom so we actually see your name. In the future, I may not allow you guys to be on the call if we don't have your name. I need to be able to call on you, and there's accountability here as well. So do that for me either in the chat or do that by changing your name on actual Zoom. Thank you. And Tiffany, you had your hands raised. What did you have for us?
Yeah, I wanted to talk to Richard about, that particular, because I have no doubt this individual that you were speaking with was able to make the decisions. You have to really, really focus and hone in on your objections and go through that listing appointment through your mind and see where you could have done things differently. Because listening to you, I can hear a lot of objections that could have been overcome.
Yes.
And I really honestly don't want you to think that he was just shopping for a commission, because he was not. You could have gotten him to sign that agreement with your 6%. It takes skill. And when you're dealing with an individual like that, it sounds like he's a very high D. Okay. Because he's telling you that he's the one that's going to make the decision. So it's very much so a possibility that he would have made that decision. Okay, so don't base it on the fact that he received another agent at 4%. He just received someone that wasn't skilled enough to get her 6%. But it was some reason why he listed with her. He wasn't just shopping. You know, it's easy. We go out sometimes and they really do. Some of them are shopping, but you can bring value and show them where that 6% matters. You know, it counts towards something. But I would always say, because I've had that happen to me before, I've been out on a lot of listing appointments that I did not get. And it helped me to understand what confidence is and knowing your scripts.
You're 100%.
You know,
I love that, Tiffany. Man, we got to get you back on there with your camera on, Tiffany. I need to see you. You're breaking it down and you're saying, this is what this call is about. I attempt not to have all the answers because other people have different thoughts and perspective. And what you've introduced to this conversation, Tiffany, is huge. And I appreciate you being here because you are out there learning and listing property, and people need to learn from people who are actually out there doing it, and hearing how well you know your market and your numbers, I hope will get people to understand what they need to be doing every day as full-time real estate agents to have success in this market, no matter where you are. You have to be the local economist of choice. You have to know your market. You have to know your numbers. You have to know your scripts. You have to know your objections.
Yeah.
You have to know your value.
And not just saying it, but and I'm just going to say this and then I'm going to get off because it's your call. But I'll say this, as a listing agent that's listing in certain areas, I open up my computer. I know everything that's moving in that area. I know when it's listed. I know when it's sold. I know who's doing it. I even know the owner of the property. I'm like a stockbroker. I want to know who's moving in my market at all times. Because when I list something in that area, I need to know who to go to. Because I'm not bringing no buyer. I can promise you that. Because I spend my time glued to this space, to this particular I know everything. I know every agent in this market. There's not anybody that I don't know. I don't care if I haven't done a deal. I know their stats. I look them up. I know what's going on. So I don't have time for a buyer. I'm a stockbroker. I'm in this market. I know what's up. So don't just say it. Get to that MLS and know what's going on, because they need to know who you are as well. I had a phone call yesterday and she called me, Tiff, what you got? I got a buyer. I need to know. I was able to give her 4 properties. And she's going to see them today because they know what's going on. And when they're getting my emails and my phone calls, because I make the phone calls too. When they get my emails and my phone calls, they know that I move property. So they're gonna call me. So just don't say that you're the market expert. Be about that.
Be about it, because she ain't bringing you a buyer. She promised that. She coming to get the listing. And here's what she's saying. She is speaking the truth. You guys need to know your market. You need to be on the phone. You need to know what's happening in your world. Just like Ron Lagashi can rattle off all the homes for sale in a particular market, is because he does that every day. Tiffany, really quick, last question for you. How much time do you think you spend a day, researching what's sold and what's happening in your market? Is it 15 minutes a day, half an hour a day? How much time do you spend, looking at the stats and looking at the numbers?
Well, I have 2 areas I list in. So I do, majority of my day is spent doing that. Once I get off the phone, like I call expires every morning. Once I get off the phone with expires, I have listings and I have them on a regular basis. So I'm getting on the phone with the next phone calls or those 50 agents that's top in that area, and I stay on the phone with them. Then once I get off the phone with them, I hit that MLS around my properties. I need to see what's listed, and I actually have I have myself on the MLS. So when they hit something, I open it up on my email. Oh, okay, she listed that for 220. Dang it. So I'm just like, and then I'll hit her and be like, girl, what's up? Why y'all listed it for 220? So I'm always, it's all the time. I'm gonna be honest, I can't measure it. It's all the time, because when you're a listing agent, listen, when you're a buyer's agent, you're in the street, you open up doors, you're doing this and that. When you're a listing agent, you're on the laptop, you're in the emails, you on the phone. So it's a hustle on both sides. And I hate when people try to measure it. It's a hustle on both sides. It's just that I'm in the comfort of my home doing it, and you're out there in the street. I just prefer to be in my home or at my office and not on the street, but it's the same hustle.
I have nothing to add to that. I almost want the call to end right there on that note, but I have somebody with their hand raised. Tiffany, I'm going to be reaching out to you. I appreciate your professionalism. I appreciate your conviction. I appreciate how you're pouring into the agents that are listening and hearing you. And I hope they really hear you, because selling real estate is simple. It's not easy. It requires that you have a set plan every day and that you get out there and create conversations for opportunities. And it shows that you show us that you're doing that at a high level. Even though we can't see you, we can hear it. We know that you're out there, and your numbers prove it. 25 listings, come on. There are people who don't do that in 3 years, 25 listings. You have 25 listings right now. So yeah, we're going to talk, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Lord, I'm going to let you get the final word. I can't hear you. You there? I can see you're unmuted, but I don't hear anything.
Renee, unmute your phone, honey.
Renee, she's unmuted.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah, go ahead. Go for it.
Oh, that's my headphones. Sorry. But hey, David, it's Renee.
Yeah.
I invited Tiffany on because she is a beast with the phones. Like, when I mean her confidence, but she handles objections crazy. And she's also doing like an objection class tomorrow on Zoom. So I think that like you will probably love it getting on. But what I was saying is that's something that I've learned, and I was telling her I like to come on this call too, is because the confidence, like when she speaks, like you can hear she knows her stuff. Yes. Because her confidence. So I just wanted to say that, like, that's something that I really do take on from being here and getting the blessing of being around her, because she teaches getting on the computer, knowing your stuff, so that when you speak, you're not just speaking like, off of a script, but it's what you know, because you're looking at this information every day.
You need
But I'll let her tell you about the objection class that she's doing tomorrow. She's doing it tomorrow, and it's on Zoom.
You need to be around people like Tiffany, because a high tide raises all of the ships. So it's really important to actually be on there. Tiffany, if you send me the information to your thing, I'll share it with my group on our WhatsApp chat so they know about it. Please, I'll reach out to you afterwards, and I got your cell.
Yeah, and I'll send it to you. Yeah,
I'll share that with you. I want to let you guys know it's a little past 9:30. I'm supposed to let you guys off at 9:30, but Tiffany was dropping some knowledge, so I wanted to stay on here a little bit longer. I have a couple of people who are asking me, what is push? So I just want you guys to know that the call's over now, but if you're one of those people asking me what push is, stay on, and I'll briefly explain it to you, because we start up on Tuesday, and tonight is the last night to actually register. So I will say have a great rest of your 4th weekend if you're done with the script practice. For those of you who want to know a little bit more about push and what's happening next week, we'll talk about that right now. So Richard, just to answer your question, so the push program is something that I started about 5 years ago, because I noticed there are a lot of agents who get into real estate and don't really know what real estate's all about, right? And so they were just going out winging it and losing opportunities day after day. And so push is really listing and prospecting mastery. It's a 5-week program with me that meets twice a week on Tuesday and Thursdays from 11 until 1:30. And the way I start the program out it's like you've had a conversation with the seller and you've convinced them to set up a listing appointment. And they say, okay, you can come by Wednesday at 6. The class starts right at that moment. What do you do when someone says, come by? I train you on how to properly pre-qualify. So you're getting in front of a ready, willing, able, motivated, and coachable seller. I believe you should not be going out and meeting with the seller if you have not pre-qualified. That's a business standard that I have. They have to be pre-qualified before we actually go on the listing appointment. So that's the first part of the training. Then we put together a pre-listing packet because we need to be showing our value every step of the way. Send them out a pre-listing packet showing who you are, what you do, your stats, how you market the property, how they should be pricing their property. That's really important, and it helps you stand out from the competition because you're doing things that most agents aren't doing. And then after we have that down, we get into mastering the listing presentation, learning how to internalize it soup to nuts so that you can actually be in the conversation when you're at a seller's house. You're not thinking about what to say and how to respond. It's in here. And that allows you to be present and really be plugged into the conversation. And we go over how to ask powerful questions, how to overcome all the objections you get at the closing table. And more importantly, we go over how to close multiple times when you're there so you don't leave that house without getting the paperwork signed. So that's what we do. And once everyone has confidence, like, hey, if someone said, come list with me, I feel comfortable that I can actually take that listing. Then the last 2 weeks of class, we get into prospecting mastery. And we learn about for sale by owners and expireds. We learn the scripts and objections for dealing with them. And we also get on the phone too in class and we call. And I get on the phone and call too. So you're able to hear me make calls. If you get someone on the phone, we're able to listen to you make calls and give you feedback. And each week you're given a new role play partner so that you are practicing your scripts every day with one of your assigned role play partners in class. Part of it is recording the listing presentation with your role play partner on Zoom and sending me the recording. And I tend to review, anywhere between 4 to 6 of those videos and send those out to the entire class. So everyone is learning from that review that I do of your listing presentation. So it's really a comprehensive program that's set up for you to learn how to become a listing agent. And I don't say this to disparage buyer's agents. I just learned very early on in this business, you have to list if you want to last. And there are 3 L's that we're taught in real estate. You get the leads, you get the listing, and then you learn how to leverage so you can go get more leads and more listings. And so I really believe in that. I also believe when you're working with sellers, you have more control over your schedule and you have control over your income. You know what you're getting paid because you negotiate it up front. And if the seller's not willing to price it, you get to walk away. And if you're doing your job like Tiffany and David and Matt and everyone else, you have enough leads in your pipeline where you feel comfortable getting up and walking away from a seller who's not willing to be coachable and price the property correctly. So it's a lot of accountability around learning how to be a great listing agent. That's what PUSH is about. PUSH stands for prospect until success happens. And I recognize that in order to get people on the phone to prospect, they first need to be comfortable knowing they can handle the yes. A lot of people aren't afraid of the rejection they get on the phone. They're afraid of a seller actually saying yes because they don't know how to handle a listing. And so we go through that whole process, how to get the listing signed. Richard, you have any questions? I know I went through that quickly. I was trying to speak fast because I know people have to go, but do you have any questions based on what I said?
No, it sounds pretty good. It's kind of what I'm about. And I'm, just being forward with you. I'm just trying to evaluate, like, if, that's something I wanted to join up and do, because it's inevitably it's going to be in my prospecting time.
Yes. Well, here's what I will say. You give me 5 weeks of your prospecting time on Tuesday and Thursday, and what you will find is that you go from not getting appointments to getting appointments, from not getting listing signed to getting the listing paperwork signed. And more importantly, learning how to defend your commission and show your value. So you're walking away with a commission that you feel good about that allows you to go out and do your job and pay out a respectable commission to your buyer counterparts. So, I do understand that it may cut into a little bit of your prospecting time. What I will tell you, the rule in real estate is If you have to erase it, you replace it. So if you're doing my class during prospecting time, then you do your prospecting in the evening that day. You don't stop doing the prospecting. You have to stay consistent with that. But those 2 days a week when you're with me, you just find a different time to make your calls. And we do make calls in the class too. So you will be doing some prospecting in class. This is a program where you need to sharpen your saw. So
sounds good. I'm gonna give it a shot.
Well, I'm putting this in. davidradney.com is my website. If you go there, you can actually register for push. The deadline is midnight tonight. So I'm closing up registration after tonight. I'm a no pressure guy. If it's right for you, if you feel like you need it, I'm here. If now's not the right time, I offer it 4 or 5 times a year. So there's no pressure on my end. And yet I will tell you that this is October 5th. The way I look at it, it's not July 5th. We're 3 months ahead. The work you're putting into real estate now translates into a paycheck three months from now. And the reason why going through push is important right now is that October, November, and December, most of your counterparts are not working. And when you finish push, you are going to be consistent. You are going to be working and making phone calls. That's going to allow you to finish up this year strong. But more importantly, in order to hit your goals for 2025, you have to go into the new year with properties already under contract. That means you have to be working in the fourth quarter. And so you need the training now to make sure in the fourth quarter, you're hitting the ground running. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to me, after class. You can find my number anywhere. Just type in David Radney. You'll find me. If you have questions, reach out to me. Just know that I'm not going to pressure you to sign up. This has to be something that's right for you. You have to see the value and know that you're worth investing in. And I'd love to help you if now is the right time.
Fair enough.
All right. If you have a day job, someone's asking me, there are a lot of people who are dual career. I do record every session of class. So I do have some people who've gone through my program and they not come to the live class, but they come after work and watch the recording. They still do the homework and they still do the role play, but they're not able to be there. People have had success doing that. Is it better to be in the actual class? Absolutely. Because you get to ask questions and you get to be part of the conversation. And yet, if that's not an option for you, that's why I record every class, because I want people to have the ability to either go back and rewatch it and take notes, or if they happen to miss the class or come late or leave early, they're not missing any of the content. So if you do work full time, watching the recordings is probably an 8 out of 10. I'd rather you be in class and be a 10 out of 10. However, I have to meet you where you are. And if you aren't able to attend classes, then watch the video. You get the full recording of everything we discuss. So with that, guys, I'm going to let you go. My daughter, Morgan, as you guys know, is training for track. And so I promised her I would take her to the track. And I've been drinking so much beer, I need to get to the track too and get this belly off of me. So I'm going to go work out with her. I do want to say this, though. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on this call next Friday. I want you to do exactly what Renee did. Invite one other person, somebody that you know that needs help in this area, and have them join the call. And more importantly, when you're on your calls, take notes and bring your objection handlers and your questions that you're getting from sellers to this call. And let's walk through how to overcome those objections in those situations. All right. Thank you, Lori, for inviting people. I appreciate you. You guys have a good one, Diego.
Thank you.
1 o'clock. And Tiffany, I'll look forward to getting that information from you. We'll talk.
Thanks.
Thank you. See y'all.